Okay, so well, then let's start. Maybe a few things about me. My name is Laaber. I'm in online marketing since, I don't know, at least 10, 15 years now. Founded my own company, my own agency in 2015. Started with web design and development at first, but later on, the focus has shifted towards conversion and revenue optimization. And so we are here, and I'm really happy to tell you something about the psychology behind conversion optimization and why it is a true love story, at least in my opinion. So to start, what is conversion optimization actually? So first of all, a conversion occurs when a visitor on your website completes a desired goal, such as filling out a form or making a purchase. And conversion optimization is the process of focusing on understanding what drives, stops, and persuades your users so you can give them the best user experience. And that in return leads to more signups, sales, submitted forms, whatever, you name it. And for understanding your users' behavior, especially how they make decisions, it's not a bad idea to understand how our brain works. And there are several theories, and one of them is the prospect theory by Daniel Kahneman and Armand Tversky, who received the Nobel Prize in economics for this theory, by the way. And a part of this theory is the dual system. And it says you can divide your brain in two operating systems when we are talking about making decisions. So we have system one, it's the fast one, it's intuitive, and it functions on mental shortcuts, also known as heuristics. It is responsible for immediate problem solving, snap decisions, subconscious reactions, etc., etc. So for example, easy calculations like 2 + 2, recognizing colors, or make a disgust face if you see something horrible picture or whatever. And on the other hand, there is system two. It is far slower as it engages conscious reflection and is used for more complicated and focused tasks. So for example, like hard calculations like 178 times 412 or whatever, or compare finance credit, and so on and so on. I think you get the point. So to better understand these two systems, how they work, and how your brain makes decisions, I would do a little quiz, but don't be afraid. There are easy questions, and we are not in a group in a room right now. So I ask you to answer the questions, if you can answer it, if you can answer them, right in front of your computer, tablet, or whatever. So let's start with the first question. What is the capital of Austria? What color on a traffic light stands for go? And last but not least, how many of each type of animal did Moses take on the ark? I give you a few seconds. All right, I guess it's not that hard. So most of you already have the answers. And so if your answers are Vienna, green, and 2, you saw how fast your brain works, but also how error prone it is. Because the last question is called Moses illusion. And the fact is that Moses took 0 animals onto the ark because Noah did. So we can say our brain can work really, really fast by using heuristics, so kind of shortcuts. And in this case, our brain sees Moses, animals, ark, and things, that all this stuff is in the Bible. So we are good to go. We don't need to challenge the question, and we can go ahead with the answer 2. But with the side effect that it causes us to suffer from cognitive biases. So in other words, we run into an error. If we replace Moses with Tom Cruise, for example, the brain would recognize this and would challenge the question and would activate system 2. So the brain is working always. And the thing is, why we should use some techniques to achieve a great user experience is because there are situations in the online world, on websites, where users are insecure and don't know what to do, where to click, or how to behave. And by using some psychological principles or effects, we can nudge or push them lightly to a certain direction. So both the user as well as us, the shop owner, benefit from the decision the user made on the website. And what I want to do now is to show you a few effects and principles how we can design our websites so to give our users a great experience and make them decisive. So, for example, one of the best known and really effective principle is social proof. It is the phenomenon where we tend to believe that the decision of others reflect the correct behavior in a specific situation, especially when we think we don't have enough information. So, for example, how can we use this principle on our website? Show your clients, your customers, fans, reviews, and the number of people who bought a specific product, in the best case on the product page, like here in this example from Zalando. So you see there this star rating, and what this effect does is it makes your user a little more confident and decisive. Another great effect is so-called loss aversion. And this principle is directly associated with the prospect theory we have heard before from Kahneman and Tversky. And they found out that the pain of losing is psychologically about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. So in other words, we are more willing to take risks to avoid a loss than to make a gain. And let me tell you about a study. In this study, participant was given $50 or pounds, I don't know. Let's stick with dollars. And in the first round, the participants had two choices. Option 1, keep $30 of it. Option 2, gamble with a 50-50 chance of keeping or losing the entire $50. And what was the result? The majority of participants choose option 1 to avoid the risk of losing money. So only 43% choose the gamble. And in the second round, the participants with the $50 had also two choices. And option 1 was this time lose $20. Option 2 was the same option, gamble with a 50-50 chance of keeping or losing the entire $50. And what's interesting is that the majority in the second round was that 63% choose the gamble instead of choosing the lose, so the lose money. And that is the thing. Option 1 is in each scenario mathematically identical. The participant still ends up with $30 in total. However, by reframing, and by the way, reframing is also a principle, but back to this topic, by reframing or renaming this option 1, so instead of keep 30, lose 20, it suggests a loss instead of a gain. And so more participants were willing to gamble the money to avoid facing loss. And how can we use this principle now on our websites? I'm quite sure you've come across this before when you look for a hotel room or whatever on booking.com. No matter which hotel you were looking for, it says always only one room left or 2 rooms left, hurry up. And even this example, you can see on the bottom, you missed it. So Booking.com plays this game very hard and brings you the fear of missing out, the fear to lose your opportunity for a special, or a good room, a special price, or whatever. But also Facebook is using this effect. If you ever tried to delete your account on Facebook, you will notice they don't have such a message like, oh, how sad you are going, but good luck and see you again, whatever. Instead, they say, if you delete your account, you lose all your, I don't know, 153 contacts. You won't be able to stay in contact with your friends anymore. And are you really sure you want to lose that? And this principle works so well that a lot of people stay on Facebook, at least a few months. However, let's move on to the next principle, which is greetings from my son. It is the cover of the book Der Hase mit der roten Nase, and it's a book for children. However, I'm sure all of you saw the third rabbit with the red nose and the blue ear immediately. And that's because of the van Restorff effect. It is named after Hedwig von Restorff, who first studied the phenomenon and describes our tendency to notice things that stand out and remember them more easily. And how can we use this principle on our websites? Make sure to choose a contrasting button and also button color and the size for your call to action. And if we talk about e-commerce and online shops, we're talking about most of the time of the add to cart button, like in this picture here. So if you're on, I think that was omegawatches.com, you have this product page and you immediately see the call to action button. And that's very important because the user wants to know all the time what is on this page and where do I have to click to get the thing I see I'm looking for. So really make sure your call to action is not always in the color of your brand, but in a different color which stands out. All right. I take a shot, more or less. And now we're going to the next principle, which is the ambiguity aversion, which describes our tendency to avoid options where we don't have enough information, so we don't know the outcome. Instead, we tend to select the option for which the outcome is more certain, even if it isn't necessarily the better choice. And for example, if a user is have any uncertainty, they will rather avoid the next step or go to the next page and the checkout page, for example, and leave the page before they go to the end of this checkout process. So please make sure that your checkout process is visually, and make sure you name your next button so that the user always knows what's going on, what is to expect. So for example, instead of having next on the button, rename it to review order or place order or go to billing information and so on. Yeah. The last principle I want to show you are actually two principles. The one is the extremeness aversion and the other one is the decoy effect. So the extreme aversion describes the phenomenon that we tend to avoid extreme decisions. and are more likely to compromise. So if we have two options to choose from, but if we have three options to choose from, cheap, mid-range, and expensive, we tend to choose the middle one, as we don't want to forego all of the features and don't want to buy anything that might be overpriced. The decoy effect, on the other hand, explains how, when a user is hesitating between two options, presenting them with a third option that acts as a decoy, as a köder, will strongly influence which decision the user will make. So, for example, let's take a product comparison table, for example. With two smartphones, option A is the cheaper one, but doesn't have a lot of features. And on the other hand, we have there's option B. It has a lot more features, but it's also more expensive. So most people would go with option A. But if we add another option, a decoy, which is more expensive than the options A and B, but it's just a little better than option B will look way more attractive in this case. And a little side fact, as you see in this example, we can combine several principles here. In this case, we combined already two principles, the extremist aversion and the decoy effect, but we can add even more. So for example, we can list all features on the product table, but gray out specific features depending on the product option. So in product option A, we have all features listed, but half of them are grayed out. In option B, we have all features listed, but a few of them are grayed out. And option C has all features listed, all of them are in black or whatever, but none of them are grayed out. So the thing is, this will trigger the loss aversion we've had before. So we have the feeling to lose and miss some features if we choose option A or B and option A. And so we rather go for option B or option C. And another effect would be the so-called having versus using effect. It says that we have the tendency to prefer and be willing to pay more for products or services that offer multiple functions, even we are unlikely to actually make use of them. And so a few people would choose option C because they say, hey, I really want all features, even if I don't need any of them or whatever, yeah? So maybe a few of you say, hey, wait a minute, you said a few seconds before that we tend to avoid the fully featured overpriced option C. And now I say, hey, there are a few people who go for option C because of this list of features. You're absolutely right. The thing is, it depends on your target audience. So in some cases, specific principles will work great, and in other, they just won't. So you will always have to try and test different effects, different principles on your website. You will have to know your audience and then try and test and test and test. And then you will see at the end of the day or the month or the year or whatever, which principle is working for your website, for your audience, and which won't. So, all right, thank you. That's from this side. Just one more thing. Let me say that was only a very small part of principles which can be used to increase your conversion. So there are a lot more principles, and all these principles go this way to trick more or less your brain, your emotions, by activating system 1 instead of system 2. And what's maybe important is that most of our decisions, nearly 93% or 95%, are made by system 1. So even if even if we think we are absolutely rational people who think a lot which decision is the best one, our emotions lead us to the decision and not our complex system too. Yeah. So I hope you got a good insight and were able to take a few things, a new knowledge with you. Try these principles on your website or on your client's website, but please make sure you know your audience and try and test the things. Thanks.